Okay, good day, guys. Good day to you all. Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Formula Sports channel. Thanks for being here. We have an interesting one for you guys here today. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. My apologies. This live was supposed to take place yesterday, but man plan, God wipe. I think that's the saying. But nonetheless, we had to give it to you guys. We had to give this particular live to you guys, and I really think it is a very important topic that we will be discussing today. As you guys can see, we are going to be having some special guests joining us for this particular live. So you guys can definitely stay tuned for that. Yeah, so you guys see the banner at the end of your screen. We're talking business to sport. We are talking business to sport. And I think it's a very important conversation that definitely needs to be had. You guys know the drill already. Knock up the like button, subscribe, share the live as well. Tell a friend to tell a friend, about the Formula Sports channel. And, just knock up your like button on the way in. Brian said, what keep, yes, sir. Bring in Pastor 6 the ASAP. Yeah, man. Pastor 6 is on his way, man. Pastor 6 is on his way. Ryan, what's happening, man? What's happening? Yeah, so big conversation we're gonna be having today surrounding business to sport. Earlier in the day, I was watching Andre Gray for Aries Thessaloniki. Right? Good performance from Andre Gray. He scored today. Right? So, scored and assisted. So Reggae Boy doing big things over there in Europe. Seen. So yeah, it was a good performance from Andre Gray. I think while it was a good performance, he got one and two chances that he probably should have done better on, Mr. Sitar too, but still, apart from the missed chances, you have to give him his props, a goal and an assist, and, very good play during the run of play from Andre Gray earlier today. Reggae Boy, Mikel Antonio would have been on the losing end in the English Premier League as well. Right? So, West Ham, I mean, they had the good result earlier in the week in Europe. West Ham is a team these days that, are featuring in Europe, but boy, the way they have been going so far this season in the English Premier League, results just have not been going their way. So, there are other Reggae boys that played today as well. So, mixed results. Some did well, some didn't do so well, but such is life, such is professional football. As I said, for those who are just joining, we're going to be talking about business to sport. And one of my guests just arrived in the building. One of my special guests today. So when I thought about doing this particular topic, these two individuals came to mind because, both of them would have some knowledge on this respective subject matter that we will be discussing today. So I thought it fitting, to invite these two gentlemen. Mr. Mannings, man, what's happening, man?
Yeah, man. Blessings. You hearing me?
Yeah, man, loud and clear, man. Loud
All
and clear,
right.
man.
Wonderful. Good evening, man, to you and all your guests.
I was just telling the viewers that I was watching the Andre Gray match earlier today, with his performance for Aries Thessaloniki, and that he scored and assisted a goal today. So, good performance from him in the Greek league. For those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
Andre Gray currently plying his trade in Greece. So, what's happening with you on this Sunday afternoon, boss?
Yeah, no, I mean, like in a different city, but doing well, giving thanks, safe journey with travel and thing, in the place, in this place. So we give thanks for that. And then Arsenal at the top of the Premier League table, Newcastle and City drew, good game. We expect Manchester United to rebound. You know, the last game was 4. I'm expecting them to get like 2 this time around, mean that they are getting better. So they'll be still sitting at the bottom of the table, at the end of the table, while we continue to lead it. So give thanks to that. Big up Brian and Ryan, LFC and Chavan and all the rest of person here.
Boy, Mannings, me know say you probably look on the English Premier League table every day, man.
I'm telling you. I have it on speed dial.
I am not surprised. No, you guys. I mean, you guys. The Arsenal look. I haven't seen the last game. I'm gonna check it out a little later, because sometimes I don't watch the games live.
Okay.
But the games I've seen so far with Arsenal, all the games before the one they would have played this weekend, the Crystal Palace game, them never. I don't know. The second half wasn't the best, but still, to be fair to Arsenal, which they played is who them did play last weekend. Who you guys played last weekend?
Crystal Palace. It was a Crystal Palace game.
No, man, the Crystal Palace game was the first one, the first
No,
game of the season, man. The
no, we
last
play Leicester City.
Leicester. Yo, me not gonna lie, Arsenal rolled some leather in that particular game. Like really, they really they looked really good. Gabriel Jesus, all of them, they looked really good, man. They looked really good. So
But you hear the breaking transfer news, though.
w- um, which player?
Ryan,
Ryan?
yeah,
No, fill me in on that.
yeah, man, Ryan LFC, man. Um,
Break.
was just purchased by Mount Pleasant at the request of coach Theodore Whitmore to be the goalkeeper there because the Guyanese is back in Guyana.
Oh God.
Breaking transfer news.
I highly doubt that the Mannings. I know it to be a credible source of information in a boss.
That's one
I
that tells
highly
us.
doubt. I highly doubt that that is the case. I think the last player that Theodore Tapa Whitmore would want to see is Ryan LFC.
Yeah.
Ryan LFC could be a Mendy quality goalkeeper from Chelsea. I highly doubt.
No.
Him could look
Well,
on Tapa and
you'd
tell
have to
Tapa.
start. You'd have to start out by mending his relationship with Tapa. That's the
Exactly.
first thing.
Big up, Ryan. All right. So enough with the chit chatter. Neo, me just about to say Neo would be joining us shortly, and as me say Neo, Mannings, I kid you not. As me say Neo,
Yeah,
Neo just pop up out of the blue.
I spoke to him earlier. Yeah, man.
Neo, what's happening, man? You're mute, Neo. You're mute.
All right, you can hear me now?
Yeah, man, loud and clear, man.
All right, cool. Hold on. Yeah, guys. Yeah, you're talking, Mannings, man, about Arsenal.
No, I'm not.
letter, right?
I'm not just talking about Arsenal. I am wearing Arsenal. Come on now.
I hear it, sir. As an Arsenal fan, I'm glad the Gunners are finally shooting again. They look like they mean business. Oh my goodness. All right. I see that.
Now I saw them against Leicester and they looked really impressive. And the first half against Crystal Palace, they looked really good to man. Them rolled some leather versus Leicester. It was mightily impressive, honestly, man.
What I will say as an Arsenal fan is I'm going to temper my enthusiasm because we often start very well, and
Wait, Neo, you're a gunner too?
Yeah, man.
I didn't know that. I never
And
knew
then
that.
things can head south after that. So
No, Neo, you know what? The last.
Hold on, Neo. I have never Neo. Hold on, Neo. Neo, I hope you're not one of those fans, where when things down, when they're not in town, but when things up, and come around. I hope you're not one of those fans because this is news to me. I didn't know you were an Arsenal supporter.
Yeah, man, of course, man. Thierry Henry, right? I was a part of that generation when them dub all up the place. But listen, let me tell you something. The truth is,
great minds think alike too. You have to understand that. His name is Omar. My name is Omar.
Here you go.
By the way, it's 3 Omars and we never even realize, it's 3 Omars left on the show right now,
Oh
some people say fools they seldom differ, so I don't know, what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, listen, to me, the truth is I am an Arsenal fan, but I since I left Jamaica realized that my fellow Jamaicans are a lot more avid when it comes to the EPL. Here in the United States, the kind of excitement that you guys have back home, I don't know, it's not as it's not as big in my neck of the woods anyway. And so even though I'm an Arsenal fan and I do check out the EPL, I certainly don't follow it as close as everybody else, but I am an Arsenal fan.
Interesting stuff.
To me, Reggae Boyz first, Arsenal second, and that's the order.
I have shifted my priorities.
Can't blame you, Bridget. Can't blame you.
Oh God. All right. So all right. So let's get into what we are here to discuss. Some serious business, some serious matters at hand, right? We're discussing business to sport, right? For those, I think we should probably give our viewers a bit of insight for those of you who might not know about business to sport. Business to sport group is an entity, right, that deals in the business of sport, as the name suggests. And why we are discussing business to sports or how they are connected to Jamaica's football is that one, they own the Reggae Boyz trademark in Europe, and if I'm not mistaken, the US as well too, Neil, right?
Yes, that's right.
And they also played a part in brokering the recent deal between the JFF and the new kit sponsor Adidas. Also, they are an agency as well that has players and coaches that are signed to their agency, in particular Reggae Boyz and would you say at this point in time a former head coach who is trying to continue in his role as head coach, Paul Hart. So that is how business to sport, this particular group, is connected to Jamaica's football. There are it from the knowledge that we have, Jamaicans seem to be involved in this entity, but they are based in Belgium, from my understanding of it, right? So, I think it is very important for us to have this conversation and to have this discussion because it is an entity that its influence within Jamaica's football is growing and is growing rapidly, right? And I personally think that there is a change in the power dynamic, so to speak, within Jamaica's football because of this particular entity. Now, I don't know if my guests would agree with me on that particular point, but that's how I feel about it, right? I didn't give you guys formal introductions, so before we jump into it, I'm gonna introduce my guests. For starters, top right of your screen, for those of you who do not know, that is Mannings Man, and Mannings Man has his own YouTube channel, IAmSureSports, right? Big platform. So if you guys, don't know about IAmSureSports, go subscribe, go check it out. Very good content. And also, to the end of your screen is NeoSovereign, and he also has his own YouTube channel as well, NeoSovereign's Law and Insight, right?
That's right.
Is it Neo or NeoSovereign's Law and Insight?
NeoSovereign's Laws and Insights.
NeoSovereign's Laws and Insights, right?
Yeah, man.
One of the best videos I've ever seen a vlogger in this YouTube space do is Neo's video as it pertains to the trademark of the Reggae Boys and the Reggae Girls team. I think it is one of the most important content that any vlogger, right, has ever published, right? So, you guys can go over to Neo Sovereign and check it out. Check out the videos he has over there. Very, very good content. If it were not so, I would not have told you. Subscribe to his channel as well. I don't think you post very often, Neo, but when you do post, it is usually a big deal. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
that particular video is basically the foundation, so to speak, of this particular conversation that we'll be having, because that video was the first time that I personally heard of this particular entity known as Business to Sport. More than likely, Mannings would have heard about them before, but this is the first time that I would have been hearing about them. Seeing? So, as I said earlier, I think the landscape and the power dynamics is changing. Neo, would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, man. Certainly. I mean, like, I think when you look at it from the perspective that the one of the lasting problems that we have as a federation, meaning the JFF, and when I say we, I'm not a part of the JFF, so let's let me be clear. But the JFF, one of the lasting problems that they have is the issue of finance. And so, I think that the fact that Business to Sports are now the owners or the registered owners of the Reggae Boys trademark definitely means that they are in a very strong position, because that trademark actually, I think, is the key to the team, actually getting some financial independence. And so, it is it is I cannot overstate how significant a move it is for them to be registered as the owners. And then, as you can see, their influence continues through the FIFA deal, through being an agent for players, for the coach, for the presumptive coach. So I know you, but one wonders if the JFF has not outsourced their operation to this entity.
One wonders, eh? One wonders. One wonders, Neo. Mannings, do you share those sentiments as well? Jamaican footballing landscape changing, power dynamics changing. You're muted, Mannings.
To some extent, but let me hesitate to a little bit because I need to lay a premise for the discussion from my perspective. And so my whole coming into this whole thing had a lot to do with Neo. We're having conversations about this whole Reggae Boyz branding and logo before the video was even done, and there were all of these questions that were being thrown about who owns it, what happened, and all of that. And so when I started speaking to the matter, a lot of it was influenced by the discussions we'll have on the coach's desk and on my platform with Neo and Frankie and many others, including you. So it is not something that I came up with or anything like that. I think collectively, as a group, we have tried our best to ventilate the matter. So I needed to set that up. And one of the things I set out to do in the initial stages was to get persons within the federation on my platform and asking them series of questions, including this. And we had and people can go and watch the video, because this same question about the trademark of the Reggae Boyz was asked of Dalton Wind in his interview, Mike Ricketts in his interview, and Rudolph Speed. And all three of them in those interviews said they were unaware of anything like this and they were going to investigate it. And those questions were asked on several occasions in those interviews. So one of my things that I'm still baffling with is how then the president says that they have been in negotiation with the same group for 2.5 years when the renewal for it was done, wasn't it last year? February?
Yep.
Yeah, so you have been in discussion for 2 years with the same, negotiating the Adidas contract with them for 2.5 years. But you had no clue that they own the trademark, and they renewed it last year. It is suggesting to me, and I'm not casting aspersions on anyone, that they played us for a fool. They knew what was happening and gave permission for it to happen for whatever reason. And that is why they were in dialogue with them all along. Maybe they didn't have the resources or the knowledge to trademark it in the US and in Europe. So they said, seeing that you are doing a negotiation, why not just do the trademark thing for the duration of this deal? So when they were on the program saying that they had no clue who Business to Sport is, and they never even know, and they need to find out because that would not be good for the football. The general secretary said that, and the president said that we were supposed to ask Neo to speak with him to help. Mr. Speed, in fact, said that he'd love to speak to Neo some more to find out about this. While at the same time, they were in discussion with this said group. So to me, that's where I'm at. I'm not yet at the deal. I'm still right there. Working
No,
that
and Mannings, I'm happy you made that point, because that's a very good point, My question, I mean, if everything is above board, so to speak, right? The only reason why people want to hide their actions or their behavior, so to speak, is if they deem it to be behavior that does not meet a certain standard. So why the lack of transparency then, if asked about this particular group, going as far as saying we have no knowledge of this particular entity? I mean, I think that's a reasonable question to ask, and then one would say, boy, something not right, something looks spooky.
And I could just chime in for a second to say that when you are having a deal of this magnitude, in fact, if it is that they gave permission to Business to Sports to get this trademark because they neglected to renew it in the name of the Jamaica Football Federation, and there was some negotiation or whatever, things like these, the trademark, the Adidas deal. All of these things are things that has to be brought to the attention of the Congress. It has to be brought to attention to the board of directors. This is not something that, you know, the president or just 2 or 3 people can make. You know, according to the present bylaws, even under the present bylaws, as flawed as I think the present one is, right? You know, even under those bylaws, they are supposed to carry these matters to the board and to the Congress for people to know. And so, you know, one of the questions that I asked in the videos that I did, both of them, you know, regarding the trademark is, you know, I asked the parish presidents in particular, are they aware about what is going on here? Because these are issues that should be brought to them. Because the truth of the matter is, you could be selling your birthright legacy. You could be selling, you know, the financial engine of the federation, you know, for years to come, right? So these issues are not issues that, you know, Mr. Speed should not have known about. These are not issues. These are issues that anybody who are in that executive circle in the GFF, they ought to have known what was going on, the name of this group, what the deals were, what was in the pipeline. And if they didn't know, and this was done clandestinely in secret, then I would say that would also be a violation of the bylaw. So it's either them know and they felt like they shouldn't say, right? Or them never know, and somebody, to me, failed to present this to the board, failed to present this to the Congress as the bylaws requires.
Yeah, I know that. I also interviewed Mr. Shaw from Kasafa, and he was unaware of the group and that as well, and Mr. Danny Beckford. So that's 2 parish presidents right there, Kasafa and St. Anne. They were unaware of who owned the trademark. So
Two parish presidents that are not the biggest fans of the current administration.
I don't know if there's a quorum that they would use, and once they have a certain amount that is aware, it may not be disseminated to the rest. I don't know how it works, Neil. Maybe you can explain that. But I know those 2 did not know. But like I said, that they are kind of seen as those confederations or parish associations are seen as those who are oppose the present administration. All right, so I wanted to establish that because there are some questions that needs to be answered there. And where you started out from is also right. So let's use a hypothetical situation. So I am coming in from Senegal. I look like I'm Senegalese. So I'm coming to engage the government of Jamaica because I want to build a road, right, over the sea, you know, with some bridges and all of that, from Ocho Rios to Negril. All right, that's my intention. So I find some Asian people and I say, listen, I'm working for the Jamaican government, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want to engage you in building this highway because, listen, I can get you to build it for $1 million, but you have to give me 10%. All right? But I'm working for the government at the same time to broker the deal, and the government is going to give me 10% for getting the check, because the Asian people. All right? So when I get the Asian people, I go to the government and I say to them, listen, for you to get these people, you have to give this other Asian company the job to do. They have to get the job. And then I go to the person who I'm going to give the job and say, listen, you see these 1,000 migrants, and my brethren them, and I have some other plans for them. So you have to make them be the laborers. So I'm getting the laborers, I control the supervisor, I control the government, and I control the person who has got the contract. So one person cannot have all that power in their hand. It's something, there must be conflict. when you look at it from that perspective, I don't think it would be allowed in government. It would not be allowed in any established business, and I think it needs to be looked at. And I want to say this because sometimes when you speak, people think you have an issue with the person. I have an issue with the principle that is being used. I have no issue with Fitzroy Simpson, no issue with Paul Hall, no, I don't have an issue with the individuals themselves. I have an issue with the immoral and unethical practices and principles I see being applied. That's what I have an issue with. In my opinion, it is unethical, it's immoral, and that's what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the individuals themselves. And I want to make that clear. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with what I think Paula should be coach or not. I just don't like the principles being applied in all of this. And I want to make that clear because I don't want people to walk away, see, we don't hate this person. No, it has nothing to do with that. And I want to lay that up. And I've said it before, I think Paul Hall should be given the job. But all this cloud around the whole football makes a person like me want to pull out of football. Because when you see this kind of lacking in integrity operation, relationships get sour, and then people normally suffer. It's the reality of the space that we live in.
Yeah, for starters, gentlemen, if you hear a feedback, more than likely it is from my end. So I don't know. If you guys at any point in time hear a feedback, just hit me in the private chat. I also want to say that Business to Sport, a representative from Business to Sport, is welcomed to come on either one of these three platforms, whether my platform, whether Mannings Man platform, or whether Neo's platform, NeoSovereign's Law and Insight, to discuss these matters, right? And to clear up any aspect of our conversation that they might deem to be a quote unquote misunderstanding. So you guys are welcomed, because I wouldn't be surprised if they come across this video, right? If they don't come across it on their own, they're gonna get a hold of it in some way, shape, or form. So just letting them know. I think I can speak for Mannings and Neo on this. You guys are welcome to come on our respective platforms, anyone, and speak to these matters that are addressed. And Mannings made mention of something a while ago that I think is a very important point. It's the amount of power that this foreign entity, so to speak, has within Jamaica's football right now. It has to be a matter of concern, regardless. Let's say, for instance, they were conducting themselves in a manner befitting, right? That still wouldn't matter to me, because the fact of the matter is, a foreign entity should not have this amount of power. And we were on the live with Mr. Speed the other day, Rudolph Speed, and I was saying to him that, we were talking about the finances, and I was saying to him that, the problems that they have in finances a lot of the times is their own fault, right? And this potentially could be a huge problem to the JFF. And again, you have to look at it and say, boy, this is of their own doing. This is of their own making, right? If they were doing what they were supposed to be doing from day one, we would not even be having this particular conversation.
Right.
If they were conducting their business accordingly, in a professional manner, the Reggae Boyz, or the Reggae Boyz trademark, would be owned by the JFF, and Business to Sport would not be in the equation any at all.
Right. Can I just chime in for a second there,
Yeah, man.
Formula. So let me say this. And as you said before, and Mannings man too, we want to be balanced. We are not trying to go after any particular person. There is no ill will. I think the issue is the lack of transparency, and because of the lack of transparency, it causes people to have to speculate. But I've long advocated, for instance, that the GFF form a for-profit entity that would help it to market the Reggae Boyz trademark and to help it raise money. The GFF is a non-profit entity. In spite of what people say, in spite of some people who have said that no, it's some private corporation and whatever, it is a non-profit entity, and it could use a for-profit entity, work with them in order to raise money for the JFF. And I said in my video that it is unclear whether or not this arrangement exists between the JFF and Business to Sports. I invited, in fact, I spoke to the attorney who's associated with that company, and in spite of making initial contact with me, he ghosted me. Never heard from him afterwards, right? So I had to do my show without the benefit of actually speaking with either Fitzroy Simpson or the attorney there. No, for me, right? I personally, I don't mind. Both of these guys are Jamaicans. I don't mind that they are out there maybe being able to, so long as what they're doing fairly benefits the Jamaican Football Federation, and so long as the money is being put to use for the betterment of the team, it's not a bad thing. However, the way that it has gone down, the way that it continues to operate, just raises too many unanswered questions. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like everything is running in a way that we would like to see. um I I think that when you look and you see the extent to which there's so many conflicts of interest, there is, I mean, there are situations where other federations, either in other FAs, either in Africa or in South America, where there are backroom deals, side deals, a lot of corruption and mess. We're talking about a situation where, um, you know, Mr. We are in the Caribbean, in CONCACAF, where we had this whole issue with corruption and all of these misappropriation, embezzlement, you name it, a whole bunch of things were happening, right? So, given these conditions, given the appearance, right, it really cries out for them to come out and clarify what is happening. Either them or the president or somebody from the JFF who should really explain this to the public. I mean, you have to consider also that the JFF is receiving taxpayer money from Jamaica. You understand? They are answerable. I know they don't behave like it, and we all cry that that we don't have any way to effect change or hold them responsible. But again, they're collecting taxpayers' money, right? The members of the board, the members of the Congress are parish associations. So, they can't just do these things without giving people an explanation. So, again, I repeat what you said, Formula, and invite them to come forward and tell us what's happening. Because if what they're doing is for the betterment of Jamaican football, I welcome it, and I would like to have that discussion.
Hold on, yeah. Stick up in, because and I think this is something that we need to talk about and we need to explore, right? You made mention earlier of the JFF getting a fair cut, right? Is that possible given the amount of leverage that business to sport would have when it comes to owning the trademark? And I am prepared to go out on a limb and say that I'm not going to be naive, right? The steps that they have taken suggest that they would want to market it as being in their moves being in the best interest of Jamaica's football, but we're not going to be naive about the situation, right? This is a corporate entity, right, who is engaging in good old capitalism, right? So is it possible, given the amount of leverage in owning the trademark and brokering the deal, some may say even getting the federation into a room that they have not gotten in before, dealing with a top two sportswear giant in Adidas, given that amount of leverage, is it possible for the JFF to get a fair deal, a fair shake?
Let me just try and answer something right here. I think there are some crucial things I think that we're missing, and this is going to answer your question. So we have been without a marketing department personnel in the JFF during this time of negotiation. Again, I don't think these moves by the JFF are by accident. I think all this time, listen, I always tell people, I can play the fool, but I will not be played by a fool. But I feel like I've been played by fools this time around. Because I think all this time they knew what they were doing, and as Jamaicans would say, they would give us a 6 for a 9. That's what they were doing. I'm going to tell you why. There has been no zeal to replace the person in marketing. I will get to your point because they were so gung ho on this Adidas deal that all other marketing plans were put on hold because of how lucrative this Adidas deal is. I want us to realize that we have missed so much in the last 2.5 years in marketing. It's something that we complain about. We complain about the fact, where is the merchandise? We weren't able to sell any other because guess what? Why get more of these and sell it when we're coming out of the deal? Why put more of these jerseys, the Umbra jerseys, all over the place when this Adidas deal looks certain to come up? Don't worry yourself, man. Corporate Jamaica not helping us. We have the Adidas deal coming up because this group was not in Jamaica marketing the JFF to the local space. Their only assignment that they said was to work on this deal for 2.5 years. And so what I think has happened is that the federation took the stance that this is going to work out. So all other marketing thing needs to be put on hold because nothing has been done. Absolutely nothing. And we don't know because now we are hearing that they won't be getting more than $1 million in a year. It's 790,000 US a year, somewhere in that ballpark, because it is reported that this company, when you normally broker deals, you get 5%, they are getting 25%.
What?
Which I believe is part of the reason.
Mannings, you're joking.
Come on.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
What? Cap Mannings, the floor is yours. Continue, boss.
So I think they found out that these people have the right to the thing. And in negotiating, they determine what amount. So outside of the 5%, that 20% I think has a lot to do with owning the Reggae Boyz trademark because the JFF could not negotiate with a company like Adidas. This is showing us that the Umbra deal that we had was before this company took over the ownership of the deal, because Umbra would not have come into the contract with them if they did not. because that Umbra deal was straight up negotiating years ago with the JFF before the last deal was finished. That was, I think, before Captain Burrell died, they were negotiating with Umbra. It was after Captain Burrell passing that this company came on board and started pursuing. And one of the first things they did was engage the JFF into dealing with Adidas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to say something, or I should go?
I mean, I'll just say quickly that, I mean, listen, 25% of the deal, that is huge, right? I'm not, I don't do these deals. I'm not exactly sure what the market rate is, but what I just from my reading, 25% sounds kind of outrageous,
Exorbitant, to say the least.
right? Especially given the fact that, as Manning just pointed out, the previous two contracts with Umbro and what was the other one?
All sport, I think, is all.
No, wasn't it Romai?
Yeah.
Romai was the I think
Romai.
it's a Middle Eastern company before
Yeah.
this one.
Right. I think those two deals were done in house, or even if
Yeah.
they were not done in house, I don't think there was any particular person or entity that got anywhere close to a 25% cut of the deal. And the worrisome thing is that, you get paid upfront, but you can also get paid on the back end of the deal as well. Because the question is, if they own the trademark, which we know they do, right? Then, what is your income based on the royalties from the trademark when jerseys are sold, or other related merchandise that they could engage independent vendors for? Like, Adidas sell jerseys, right? But Adidas may have an exclusive right to sell jerseys and gears, but they don't have a right to sell cup holders, or sweatbands, or something like that, right? The point is, we don't know to what extent, literally, and it's not even a matter of how much money they are making. Well, it is, but more importantly, the issue is, how much more money could the JFF bring in order to better Jamaica's program, and to make sure that the taxpayers are not being overly burdened. And, I mean, if they did their business above board, it doesn't mean that sponsors in Jamaica could not come on board. And then lastly, one of the worrisome signs is when you feel like you can have this entity amassing all that power and being able to generate this income, to the extent that you feel as a JFF that you don't really need local sponsors and you don't need local businesses to invest. It just, what it does is, in addition to the fact that, because of the way FIFA is set up, and we feel like there is no accountability with regards to how the JFF operates, this arrangement just it furthers it, in the sense that, here is this other source of income, this other entity, which the Jamaican public, the Jamaican people, have no control over, no say in, that is further liberating the JFF and the board just to do whatever they want. And so at this point in time, we have to ask a question, like, I mean, is this the Jamaican people's team? Right? Like, I don't know, it raises very serious issues in my mind.
Neo, I'm extremely happy. You see, that's why I have you two gentlemen here now. Right? I'm extremely happy that you took the conversation down that path. Because again, a foreign entity with so much power in Jamaica's football and no transparency whatsoever, no form of accountability whatsoever is being presented to the Jamaican people, right? If it wasn't for vloggers sitting here, right, started off with Neo, others have picked up on it as well. I am sure Coach's Desk and others as well. If we did not sit here and shed a light on this particular issue, right, no one would get even the slightest bit of understanding as to how monumental of a situation this is. That it is just ridiculous, right? These people are hiding behind a veil, right? And nothing is being said to the Jamaican media in terms of what exactly is the scenario with this particular entity.
Sorry.
And for me, that's disturbing. Go ahead, Mannings.
I would say when you say the Jamaican media, and Cranky, if we can put up Cranky's comment, because maybe it is the Jamaican media, what they call traditional media, who is not saying anything about this. Because I am sure that because of their years in the business, they can speak to business to sports faster than us. Many of these media houses in Jamaica can do that.
But they have already done it, Mannings, and they have already done it.
They speak to them, yeah. They don't ask these questions.
They have already done it, and they don't ask the relevant questions.
Okay. Let me just say something else that you had raised earlier. Have you ever, and I like to use hypothetical because I don't want to call person's name, right? But people understand. Have you ever seen a coach a team and his son is on the team and it is an issue? Because even when the son is better, there are players who will always believe that the only reason why he made the team is because his father is the coach. Right? That's how it goes. So now, what confidence do I have that if a player is connected to business to sports, if they are their official agent representation and they are in the national team, right? What would prevent me from believing that this player didn't make the team based on who his agent representation is, and not necessarily how good the player is? I say that because I want to make this point. When you operate at a certain level, it is not just your character that is important, but your reputation. In other words, you have to, the Bible says it this way, shun the very appearance of evil. What it means is that there are certain things that are not wrong enough for me to do as a pastor, but they're not wise. If you see me driving up and down every day with a young lady in my car, to and fro, 12 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, and you never see my wife, it is, though it may not affect my character, it affects my reputation. Because you could say every night the man I drive up and down with a woman, though it is not the truth, again, your reputation is important. It is not as important as your character. And I don't think these guys realize that this kind of operation is affecting their reputation. Though their character may be intact. Because now you leave people like me to speculate about player selection. If Paul Hall is the coach, I'm telling you, I am going to watch the players who play every single time because of this. And it's not fair to him, but it's not fair to me. Because you have given me reason to think otherwise.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And I want to touch on that a bit more a little later in the show. Right now, I wanted to touch on this particular comment on the screen by Lanesra. And I think it is a very good comment. And you guys continue to post all your comments in the comment section.
Let me just say, sorry, that is Arsenal turned around, right?
All right, cool.
Very astute of you, sir.
All right. But you guys continue to comment in the comment section. We appreciate your comments, and we're seeing all the comments. Even if we don't get to all of them, we try as best as possible to integrate you guys into the show. Lanezra, very good comment. The Adidas deal is a big accomplishment for the JFF, but none from the JFF has spoken about it in terms of they haven't gone into any details, so to speak, about it. Begs the question, what the backdoor deals taking place that may not be in the best interest of Jamaica's football. Credible sources were reporting that the Umbra deal that would have recently concluded was $4 million US across 4 years. Credible sources are also reporting that the Romai deal before the Umbra deal was the same, 4 million across 4 years, right? Now, my question is this deal really better though? Is this Adidas deal a better deal? Is it the case where it is a better deal from the standpoint of not necessarily what we're getting up front, but what we're getting on the back end? Or is it a better deal from the standpoint of what we're receiving, not necessarily in cash, but what we are receiving in kind? Or the opportunity that working with an Adidas or partnering with Adidas would present to the marketability of Jamaica's football, given that Adidas is such a massive global sportswear brand? I don't know which one of you gentlemen would want to take that up.
I just want to jump on that really quick because I think that's an excellent point. I mean, if this Adidas deal is not so much better than the deal that we had before with Umbro, right? Then it begs the question, what sort of negotiating skill, what added value did Business 2 Sports bring to this negotiation that warranted them getting a 25% cut?
Trademark.
Right? Well, there you go. Because if it is just their ownership of the trademark, which meant that they put the JFF in a position where they probably had no choice but to let them take the charge in negotiating this deal, then I mean, I don't like to use this term, but it could be seen as vulture capitalism. You pick up, you see something looking like it's left for dead, namely the trademark, then you pick it up, and then you approach the principal, and you said, listen, it's either your deal or you get nothing, right? And I mean, look, I don't know that this happened. I can't say that this happened, but from the looks of things, if the deal is not that much better than what the JFF was getting before with Umbro or some other entity, deals which were probably negotiated in-house or by an entity that did not charge a 25% fee, right, or markup or whatever, then again, I mean, it does not look good. It smells bad. It looks bad. And just as the man of God said there, in the law, they say that just the very appearance of illegality sometimes is too much, especially when it comes to corporate law and corporate entities. You understand? So, I mean,
yeah,
it really looks very bad.
I want to ask Mannings a question. Mannings stated a figure earlier, and I just want to make it clear if he does know the answer to this question. Is it a case that okay, he's back. Is it a case that, because Mannings, you gave a range 750,000?
Between 790,000 to 800 in cash.
That's per year.
Per year. That is a cash.
Is that after the 25% cut or before the 25% cut?
You know what? That's a very good question. I need to find out, which is why we need to get it. But so I don't know. But I know that is cash, and then you have the merchandise. So in other words, how it is set up based on that amount is you can generate more yearly by the amount of merchandise that you sell. Makes sense. So in that sense, I don't know. I think like it is easier to sell Adidas than it is to sell Umbro in football.
Yeah,
like,
man. The Adidas shop window is definitely a bigger shop window than the Umbro shop.
Right. So I think in terms of that, the good marketing will help you to generate a great amount. Again, this is why the most important thing in all of this is a trademark. Because when my trademark goes on every item, do I get the 25% as the overall amount, regardless of how much merchandise, or do I get it on every item sold? You understand what I'm saying here? Is it okay? Let me take this 25% now, and then whatever you sell, you keep it. You use, in other words, this is the user's fee for the trademark.
Right.
5% for doing the work, 25% is the user's fee.
Yeah, yeah.
So Mannings,
that makes sense.
No, man, it makes sense. I just want to say this because I don't think we had a big reaction when you dropped the figure, but I don't think we really put it into context. just for clarity, 25% is a huge.
Well, listen, if I were business,
don't matter the dynamics, Mannings.
Yes, if I were business, listen, right now, if somebody wants to put TFS, the Formula Sport, and shirts to sell it, you're going to want to charge around 20% of everything. That's not unfair enough. That's a reasonable. No, it is a.
It is not. I agree. No, I agree.
And
I'm happy to clarify that. I'm happy to clarify that. No, because it is not. Let's just make it clear for our viewers. The 25% is not based solely on them brokering this entity brokering.
Yes.
Right?
It is to use their trademark.
Yeah, and that is the problem. That probably 20% of the 25% really and truly should be going to the Jamaica Football Federation if they handle their business the right way from day one. That 20% could be additional millions, you know.
I mean, it's I can't. I'm still in shock, to be honest with you, because I really did not know what the figure was. And look, we don't have our hands on the contract. I don't know how I would go about trying to find out what the contract says or getting a copy. But I mean, it really is shocking that this would be the case. I think that
the figure is for our viewers to be clear. The figure is reportedly right, and we all know Mannings is a.
So here's what to do. Formula, because I'm going to give you a person, incredible person. I don't know if he will tell you, but he will. I think you will ask him. So I'll send, and even you, I think he will talk to you. But he's privy to the information, and I think he will give, just so that he can come back and confirm it with the people. And this is because my issue was, at first I had a problem because I knew the Umbro deal, they were getting $1 million. The issue with the Umbro deal is that they weren't getting $1 million, but they weren't getting $1 million in cash.
Oh, kind as well.
There you go.
Oh,
and I think that is why the Umbro deal wasn't working out.
Oh,
because
that's what I mean.
They weren't selling enough merchandise because the truth is, with all of these deals, it is the merchandising is more important. That is where you can probably generate. If you look at the Mexican team, was an Adidas deal. You see Mexicans, you see them in the Mexican team supporter jersey most times, even if they don't go to the games. We would have to get there to see the long-term benefit of this. What needs to be clear to us is come January, we need to find out, right? Come January, is this 25% a one-time charge, or do the holders of the trademark still get additional monies out of every shirt or every cup or every scarf or every that we sell with brand Jamaica on it?
Yeah. And I wanted to address a comment here that Stan asked. He asked, have they also trademarked the Reggae Girlz? So Stan Cranky, the answer to that question is no, right? The Reggae Girlz trademark is owned by the Reggae Girlz Foundation that is based in Florida. But I really appreciate the question, because I wanted to contrast the behavior of Sidela Marley and contrast her behavior to the behavior of Business to Sports, and to contrast the outcome of the Reggae Girlz making it to the World Cup to the outcome of the Reggae Boyz and what has happened with the Reggae Boyz. Now, we didn't see Sidela Marley come in and view the Reggae Girlz as an opportunity for her to make money. She brought her own money to the process and management and fought for the girls, and the girls have made the World Cup 2 times in a row. You understand? But for her intervention, but for her perseverance, even when she pick up no fight, the Reggae Girlz would not have been in the first World Cup, nor would they have been in the second? Probably not. We see the Marley Foundation bringing money. We see things in the press. We see transparency. We see even friendly fire between her and the JFF, and sometimes not so friendly fire, right? But again, we see what the outcome is. The outcome is that the girls are on a good trajectory. The girls are well coached. Yes, they're not the number one team in CONCACAF, but we feel a lot more confident, and they bring the country a lot more joy. I'm not beating up on my Reggae boys, but I'm just saying that is the experience that we have coming from the Marley Foundation. And now we have the JFF, which appears to be mismanaging the Reggae boys, certainly neglecting the trademark. And then we see this company, Business to Sports, coming in. And then we have this Adidas deal, which had been bandied about in the press like it's the new lottery, like we've won the lottery and all of the money problems are going to go away. When the truth is that the deal is not exactly that much better than the previous deal. And even if it was, we have a 25% fee or 25% markup or whatever you want to call it. So it means that it means that we are overestimating how much money or how much financial support the JFF will be getting out of this deal.
Listen, let me say this too. If being a shrewd businessman, Neo, and you know this, listen, I don't expect this company to be doing this for charitable reasons. They are in this to make money. They could say 50%. So I can't blame them. Like, there's no blame to be ascribed to them. This is the way of business. You have to be shrewd. You try to get maximum money from minimum effort.
Boy, brother, I hear you, but I hear what you're saying, but I think that I do put some of the blame on them. If I don't know exactly what the arrangements are, but if it is that these arrangements, if we have the right figures, then yes, I'm sorry to say, but it sounds like vulture capitalism. It sounds
exploitation.
No, but isn't that
and sorry, but I think one of the issues Neo has is that it's who is linked to this particular entity as well.
I think it's because it is Jamaicans. I think it's because the people are like, I wouldn't do it in Neo, and you wouldn't do it. But I'm saying in the world of business, this is probably normal profit, normal modus operandi for the person who is seeking maximum profit. We can't blame them for trying to exploit a situation. All we need to look at is who was the attorney that was representing our federation in this matter? Who was negotiating with the negotiator? Have we ever asked that? Who was sitting down as an attorney representing the Jamaica's football?
I mean, but Mannings, what? Sorry to cut your Mannings, but what? I mean, okay. If I
let me give you some. Hold on. Let me give you some names that we have branded the persons in the federation as. Right there, so I'm just giving you what people have said: incompetent, dunce, corrupt, criminal, what they call toilet cleaners, or at least. All right. So if we have used those things to describe them, they go into a deal with attorneys and all of those things. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to get outsmart.
Well, you know, Mannings, can I let's just intervene there. So I want to make this 100% clear. At the time when I made my show, there was still enough time for the JFF to fight for ownership of the trademark. In fact, when I was making
Mannings, that's what I was. That's what I was gonna say.
When I brought up the topic and came on YouTube, I specifically raised it because I said at the time, JFF, I am talking to you. Go and look into this. You still have time to contest this company's ownership of the trademark.
In the US, in the US,
in the US, yes,
in the US, because the laws, the trademark laws in the US and Europe are different.
Right? I told you what happened.
In the US, I think it's based on who was using the trademark first, versus in Europe, it is who registered first.
So if they didn't know, Neo, if they didn't know that, if they did say that they were completely naive, because they were either very naive or they played all of us for a fool. One of the two things, you know. But they are not the fools in this, you know. They were either completely oblivious to what was happening, or they fooled all of us because they said they didn't know when they had something with the people. Again, 2.5 years, it stated these guys have been trying to broker this deal for us. 2.5 years. And at no point in 30 months, you had no conversation about your trademark. So either they came to you and you said, no, man, then you know, go and go do that, man. What you mean, man, from your get the Adidas deal, man? Listen, or they just never know. But there has to be some sanctioning, I believe, from the JFF. But they probably didn't know that when it came down to this deal, probably so much, the percentage will be so high.
Yeah, I mean,
because it don't make any sense. It don't make any sense for me to think like they did not know for 30 months of negotiation.
Yeah, which is why, in trying to make sense of this whole issue, it's like it started to make arguments on both sides because you're trying to just process what's going on. And so I said, well, it may be possible that the JFF has an agreement with this entity, and maybe they mandated them to go and pick up the trademark. And as a matter of fact, Formula, in the US, what happens is that once you're the registered owner of a trademark, if you fail to re-register the trademark, I think within 2 years, and you're not using it, then somebody else can file for the rights to own it, because basically it's gone dead. You understand?
Former General Secretary, people go and watch the video. He says, this is a serious matter. I will have to look into it. It's the first go and watch the video. He said, it is the first I'm hearing about this company. Mr. Speed said, I have no clue. I don't know who your business was for.
Mannings.
Mr. President said the same thing. Mr. President said, listen, yeah, man, tell them to come and talk to me up by my office on Tuesday. Because I don't have, and like, so I am lost.
Right. So
Mannings.
You know,
sorry, Neo. Sorry, Neo. So I'm gonna give you a chance. I just need to get this over. Mannings. Let's try and examine all the possible scenarios, right? If it is a case that these individuals were being truthful and did not know, what does that suggest is taking place then? And if it is a case that they were not being truthful and they knew, what does that also suggest is taking place? Don't forget a point, Neo.
I'm just trying to think though. If you're going to talk to Adidas for 2.5 years, what is going to be on the jersey will be a part of the discussion. Print, the JFF name and logo. At some point, that is going to come up. So for 2.5 years, that discussion never came up.
Yeah. It don't seem credible at all. It does not seem credible. As a matter of fact, the facts that you have stated them suggest that it belies their explanation that they did not know.
That's what I'm saying. They fooled us. I think these guys, listen, I don't want to digress, but let me give you this. Recently, when a question was asked about the travel agency, the answer that was given is that all the investigations suggest that nobody at all in the leadership of the federation, they are unaware completely from all their investigation. So either these guys are straight up lying, or they completely oblivious to all the facts out there. Because the person, when he spoke, when the luggage things were left, his name was in the article. And everybody know who he's married to. And the person is married to, is connected to the JFF. So when you have somebody come out and say, from our investigation, there is no connection, it just tells you that there's a lot of lies being told.
Yeah. And under either scenario, if it is a lie or if them just incompetent, completely incompetent, under either scenario, it to me means that, you know, it's either the entire Congress is in on it or the board is in on it, but either way, they're violating their bylaws, right? Because this is something that should be voted on. This is something that should be discussed, you know. So, I mean, to have, you know, so if Mr. Speed or the president said that they had no knowledge of this, it is grounds for a vote of no confidence. You understand? This is a grounds for a vote of no confidence. Unfortunately, we won't be having any vote of no confidence because the federation is so strapped for money that any money coming the way of the parish associations, they're so happy to get anything that, and I said it in my own video, why are we satisfied with scraps when we could be really having a seat at the table and everybody get, you know, treated properly and the football really progress. But for me, under either scenario, if them lying and this happen, it's a ground for a vote of no confidence. If them incompetent and allow this to happen, it's grounds for a vote of no confidence to have them removed. Well, certainly, it is something that should disqualify them, to me, right, from being in this role of leadership. If they don't, I mean, if they allow this to happen, if they don't know what the hell is happening, like what are they doing? And the notion that, oh, this is my department, I only deal with this, or this is, I don't deal with that. That is also nonsense. Because you're a member of the board of directors, you're a member of the executive. All of this is supposed to be discussed. So it's really very tragic.
All right. Rob Smith made a point here that I just wanted to emphasize when Mannings was speaking on the issue of the attorney for the federation. I kind of agree with Rob on this one. I think the federation would have been negotiating from a position of weakness, and so it would have taken a very skilled attorney on the part of the
Well, give me that. Give me a skilled attorney. If you're telling me the person that I'm going to negotiate with is in a poor position, if my case is so weak, I'm going to get representation from Neil, because trust me, he would be more averse to give me better representation than me. But if I go up against Ryan right now, me not go call for Neil. Because me understand me know me can beat Ryan. But if I'm going to go up against Peter Bagjuice, then we will get Neo.
Yeah, and I gotta say this too. Like, if there is an attorney who is on the board of directors and handling some legal matters for the JFF, I mean, that attorney should have seen and known what is going on in this instance, and they should have stopped it. It doesn't matter how much power that business to sports have. If I was an attorney in there, first things I would say is, if this deal was being negotiated from as far back as 2 years ago, first thing as management say is, okay, who owned the trademark? Is this going to be an exclusive deal? That's the first question you ask when it comes to when you're doing these deals. So first thing I would do is go and research to see, okay, do we still own a trademark? Because this is something that we need to have as a part of our, negotiating tactic. If we own it, we're in a stronger position. Let me say what has happened to this thing. So when that attorney went and looked, as I did, and I was able to do just by going on Google, right, and went to the USPTO's website and see that there was an application, then they could have contested it, right? Or, if they could have contested it, or if the JFF is working alongside with business to sports and basically, there's more to it than meets the eye. They're all cooperating and whatever. Certainly, they could have negotiated better terms for the JFF, because what happens in let's say that business to sports is a holding company for the JFF. In those instances, if it is a normal situation where it's a holding company, parent company relationship, the parent company, I mean, they come away, they're going to get a lot more benefits, the lion's share of the benefits from this arrangement. You understand? So this 25% thing, this scraps thing, I mean, it is poor representation throughout this entire process.
Yeah. Mannings will soon be leaving us, right? So I just want to get both of you and his opinion before he leaves on this particular issue, right? Given the power dynamics that are at play, and given the amount of power that on the face of it business to sports now possesses within Jamaica's football, given the fact that there is a connection between them allegedly and Paul Hall, an individual who is, many would say, the front runner to be the next coach of the national team. With that being said, and I'll start with Mannings because he will soon depart us, and then I will throw it over to Neil. Would it be in the best interest of Jamaica's football from the standpoint of empowering this entity even more? Would it be in the best interest of Jamaica's football for us to continue with Paul Hall as the national head team gaffer?
Let me answer. Listen, let me tell you this. When this whole thing with Paul Hall, I felt like he should have been given the job because, let me say this, I thought what he did in terms of unifying, galvanizing the team, qualifying the team for the Gold Cup, I thought without a doubt he should have been, even with the debacle in Suriname, give him the job. All right? But again, when I read what Meron Gardner said, when I look at the players that have been selected and who they are connected to, even if he is totally away from this, he would have to come out. If he comes out and says, I want to disassociate myself from this agency, company, whatever, they do not represent me in my dealings with the JFF. I stand and I want this job. Because I think, like I said, if you don't do that, it's going to put pressure on you when people look at the player selection. Because even if a player warrants his spot, if when they look at it and they look at, because all these things will be on transfer market, if I see the same company that negotiates for the coach has 5 players in the team, I am going to ask questions, especially in a case where I think there are other players who are better. And I think that is unfair to the player, it's unfair to Paul Hall, and we have just come through a whole season of that. And I made a video and I said this, I don't care enough, because if Rudolph Speed is doing it, I have a problem with it. If I hear the echo formula, so I don't know if I can, if Rudolph Speed is doing it, I have a problem. If the Kasafa president, the Sentan president, I don't care. If I have a position in the GFF and I'm using my position to get players in the team on the basis of anything else other than merit, plain merit, I do not like that practice. I don't care who the person is. But I believe, again, that the best person right now to lead the program as a coach is Paul Hall. But there's too much things surrounding his connections. And I have a concern with that. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but that, yeah.
And just to back up what Mannings man is saying, and I fully agree with everything that you have just articulated, but just to add to that, just the mere appearance of a conflict of interest. So it is not enough for someone to come here and tell me that, oh, the team is being selected entirely based on merit. That's not enough for me, because there is, even if I cannot say conclusively, even if I can't state conclusively that there is a conflict of interest, right? There is certainly an appearance of a conflict of interest, and that in and of itself is monumental. Judges, when the issue of conflict of interest arises, when a judge is overseeing a case, right? It is not taken into consideration whether or not there is indeed a conflict, from my understanding, The most important thing is, does it even appear to be a conflict of interest?
Can I ask a
question? And once that appearance is there, the judge has to be off the case.
Let me ask a couple of questions, right? Neo, you're an attorney. If the accused has a cousin, the court find out that the accused has a cousin that they have never spoken yet. Maybe the cousin just moved back from the state, right? So they don't even know each other, but the court finds out that they are related. Can that cousin sit on the jury?
look, who sits on the jury is really up to the attorneys are supposed to object to that. It's not really the judge who, I mean, yes, the judge can say, well, this person shouldn't be on there, but before you even get to the judge, you would have that person's attorney say, I guess the prosecutor probably saying if it's a criminal matter, would object to that even before it get to the judge. So, so to answer your question is no, there's no way that person's cousin should be on
exactly. And you know why? Because it there's a perceived conflict of interest, and based on that, objection is raised.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to raise, just for people to understand that the perception is enough to raise objections.
Right. And guys, let me tell you, when it comes to a conflict of interest, right? There are methods by which you can, if you are on the board or the Congress, sometimes there is a conflict. But if you bring your interest, if you disclose the conflict to the board and you disclose the conflict to the Congress, there are mechanisms by which they can have a committee. The committee will examine the situation and say, well, this appears to be a conflict, but we're getting a fair deal here. So even though there is a conflict, the GFF is getting a fair deal. And so that particular committee will say, we're going to approve this deal, even though there is a conflict. That is a possibility. But again, we just have no indication from anybody that they know what's going on, that any of this was presented to the board, that there was any conflicts, that they tried to work through any of these conflicts. I mean, we just have indication time and time again, mismanagement, neglect, all sorts of craziness, which is just completely crazy. And as to your question, Formula, I think that both you and Mannings answer that question perfectly. The only thing I would add to it is that, look, I like Paul Hall as a coach. He's very good with the press. He seems to be a thinking coach. He is a young coach by other standards. We have had more experienced coaches that has been hired by the GFF. One other thing about it is that I think that he is one for the future, and I think that he should be mindful of his own future and whether or not his association can taint him going forward, right? And I want to add that it's not the taint doesn't only work in the direction of him coming to Jamaica, but this whole issue can also reverberate in the English press and affect his prospects for employment over there in England as well, right? So, for him personally, this is an issue that he needs to think about very carefully going forward. I do believe right now he's one of the better prospects for a coach that we have for the team. There are other coaches out there who are probably more qualified if the GFF came up with the money to hire them, but we don't see that. We know that Paul Hall stood up for the players and that there seems to be a bond of trust between him and the players, which is a very important first step to, for being a coach. But at this point in time, the truth of the matter is, it is sad. Somebody asks, well, how can we hold them accountable? Right? I think it was Rob Smith. The truth is, Rob, because of how FIFA is set up, right? We don't really have a lot of mechanisms to hold them accountable. And it really would be up to the Minister of Sports to start an investigation, or the Minister of Finance in Jamaica to start an investigation into the GFF and what's going on, because again, they have the authority to do so since this entity is receiving taxpayers' money, right? They have the authority to do that. If they start an investigation, then what would happen is that FIFA would suspend the Jamaican Football Federation, or at least, they would suspend them temporarily, right, until that investigation is complete. And they would probably appoint a new board to make sure that whatever it is that they're not doing correct, this new board is supposed to correct the problem that the government has identified. So that is how the process goes. The local government start the investigation, FIFA suspends, FIFA appoints a board to normalize the federation in Jamaica. And then after that process of normalization brings them into compliance, then FIFA reinstates them, and then they continue going forward. But beyond that process, there's very little that we can do other than to bring attention to these issues and hope that the people in authority, the people with the power, are watching and that they will hold these people accountable.
I have long been an advocate of Paul Hall, right? I like the idea of Paul Hall being our head coach for this national team going forward. But given, sorry, Nia, just gonna mute you for a second because I hear no feedback. Yeah, given the links that I have in recent times been hearing with Paul Hall, with the gaffer, and this particular entity, I don't know if I feel comfortable going forward with him as our national team head coach, right? I think this particular entity needs to be quote unquote stopped in its tracks, right? Because I think this particular entity is already very powerful within Jamaica's football, right? And is growing more and more powerful with time. And I think from the standpoint of sending a message, and also from the standpoint of preventing them from attaining even more power, I really and truly don't think it is in the best interest of Jamaica's football for Paul Hall to be the national head team coach. And anybody who knows my platform, watches my platform, is aware of the conversations that take place on this particular platform. I'm a fan of Paul Hall. I have a lot of time for Paul Hall as a manager, but I'm really and truly not comfortable with the current dynamics that are at play, right? And I don't want people to think that this is an exaggeration or this is a big deal, right? This entity already owns the trademark. From what we understand from credible sources, they have players signed to their agency that represent the Reggae Boyz. They are currently allegedly pursuing players who would want to represent the Reggae Boyz in the future, and are certainly, are reasonable. What's the term I'm looking for? Players with a reasonable claim to say that it's a possibility. It's a reasonable possibility that at some point in time they could be in and around the national setup, right? If I articulated myself well on that particular point, right? This is an entity that is brokering deals on behalf of the JFF. Big deals, multi-million-dollar deals. With that being said, again, a foreign entity with so much power, I am not comfortable with that. Does the JFF have the clout? Bro, being uncomfortable, that's your emotions. Boy, D. Thompson, if you don't see the problem that could currently arise with all of what I just stated, and, I want to say this as well, we have reports behind the scenes, or, reports of alleged conduct, that me being uncomfortable, I think, is a reasonable emotion to portray, right? I'm not going to speak on that publicly, right? Because I wasn't given permission to speak on that publicly, right? Credible information from credible individuals. So, with that being said, I don't want this particular entity to have any more power than they already currently possess by, getting their coach in the door, so to speak. And I don't think that is, D. Thompson is saying that, bro, being uncomfortable, that's your emotions. D. Thompson, if you don't understand the point that I'm trying to make, then I don't know what else to tell you, or how else am I supposed to put it in terms of just how big of a deal this is. This isn't a trivial matter. It really and truly isn't. If you care about Jamaica's football and you are objective, you take an objective stance in the affairs of Jamaica's football, you should be uncomfortable with what is taking place. Go ahead, Neo. I don't know if you want to add something.
I think that, look, so if you do have emotions, it's certainly not empty emotions, right? There is a reason why you're emotional about this issue, and it is because, as we've discussed, the appearances of conflict, the appearances of the balance of power, the deal itself, the conduct of the principals, alleged conduct of the principals. All of these things provide great cause for concern. I'm going to go there and say this, that I don't have, my issue is not so much that the company is quote unquote a foreign company, because we know that these are Jamaicans behind this company. And I think that,
sorry to cut you, Neo. When I say a foreign entity, I mean a body outside of the JFF. That's really and truly what I mean.
All right.
Having that much power to own trademarks and all of those
All right,
things.
that's right, sir. So don't let me misconstrue you. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, but this is what I was going to go on to say, is that there's definitely bad appearances here. Are there things that maybe we don't know? Quite possibly. Is there time and room for the GFF or the principals to come out and disclose exactly what's going on, what the relationship is? Because I know that when I started to come on and talk about the Jamaican Football Federation and the Reggae Boyz, it was out a matter of frustration that I looked on and thought, boy, somebody needs to do something. So I can understand, the attorney and Fitzroy Simpson probably looking on and saying somebody needs to do something. And how do you make the JFF sit up in their seat and paying attention to you, right? Maybe you go and get their trademark because they were too lazy to register it for themselves. Again, I still think that there's time for these guys to come out and speak publicly about their role and what they're trying to achieve. And I would implore them to come out and do so, because we're on the cusp. It represents both a bad omen, or it could represent an opportunity for us to actually have, people there in England who are looking out for, trying to get this best players in the team, trying to do all of this stuff. The point is that if you are trying to do good, then you need to actually come out and be transparent about it. And you need to actually, show people that's what you're about. So I'm not here, and I know it's not management intention or Formula's intention to try and, malign the company or whatever. But again, it's a matter of, from what we've seen so far, it don't look good, and it cries out for an explanation from these guys.
Smoke.
Right. It's not just us. We're talking about the Jamaican public, the diaspora. Everybody wants to know what is happening. What are you guys about? So again, I just hope they will actually talk to someone and clarify the whole issue and explain.
I want to get in two things. Couple of things to address quickly before the stream ends. Two things I want to touch on quickly though. I would sincerely hope, Neo, that the logos of the Jamaica Football Federation, the name, the Jamaica Football Federation, the abbreviation, the JFF, if possible, but certainly the name, the Jamaica Football Federation. I sincerely hope, I sincerely hope that these are protected not only in the Jamaican landscape, not only in this jurisdiction, but in overseas jurisdictions as well, right? I remember, again, I always point to this interview. I should probably see if I can get a chance to. I'm not going to put that out there publicly. I'll try and, anyways. But I remember an interview that was done. Big up Sports DTM. They interviewed a lady by the name of Sophia Harris, if memory serves me right, is her name. She was the former marketing manager at the Jamaica Football Federation, and she said something in her interview that for me was particularly disturbing. She said that upon her arrival, and I'm not quoting verbatim here, right? She said, because I watched that interview like months ago, probably over a year ago. Basically, to the extent of the logos were not trademarked upon her arrival. Now, fine, she took care of that. But did she take care of that locally? Or did she take care of that internationally as well? Because
I just want to chime in to say something really quickly that's really related to what you're talking about. So I think I'm not exactly sure what the dates are, but the Jamaican government made changes to their trademark and copyright laws in Jamaica. Whereas in the past, if you registered a copyright or a trademark in Jamaica, it only had effect in Jamaica. New provisions have been added to the law that allow a Jamaican entity or a Jamaican person who registers their trademark or copyright. Once you do it in Jamaica, it can also get recognition overseas.
WIPO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
they're a signatory note to the WIPO agreement. Yeah.
There you go. So
I don't remember the name of it exactly, but
right.
it's the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization.
Yep. So now in Jamaica, they don't have any excuse. They can get a local attorney in Jamaica to do all of that stuff for them there in Jamaica. They don't even have to go overseas to do it. But I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, man. No, man. That's perfectly okay. And that's a very good contribution, because it's very important. Because I have a little theory. It's a conspiracy theory, not based on anything. So I'm not speaking it as if it's fact. But I think like a conspiracy theory, that the Reggae Boyz trademark was probably registered in Jamaica, and I wouldn't put it past them for feel as though once them register it in Jamaica, it is basically theirs to use anywhere in the world. That's just a little conspiracy theory I have. I don't mean to be malicious, but I just have a feeling that could have been the case. Them register it in Jamaica, them say good, it is safe.
Formula is so funny, because remember, sometime in the 1998 campaign or thereafter, the Jamaican Football Federation were the owners of the Reggae Boyz trademark. So, when Captain Burrell was alive and in office, they were the owners of the trademark. And so, I mean, there is no, so they should have that institutional memory of that. And there really is no excuse in my book as to why they would not, have their, would not have known that they needed to re-register and to acquire ownership, in Jamaica and overseas as well. So I don't know, just seem inexcusable to me. I keep on pointing to the possibility, hoping beyond hope, that perhaps there is some deal here between the JFF and Business of Sports. Business of Sports is just a holding company. I keep on hoping that that is the case.
I highly doubt it.
Right. I don't think that there's really much proof for that. Right. But again, it all comes back to transparency and for somebody to come out and speak about these things. Somebody asked about whether or not Adidas would approach the JFF. I mean, Adidas is a huge company. They don't come to the JFF. It's the JFF, or the JFF's agent who would have to approach Adidas, right? And I mean, incidentally, one of the things that people were, I mean, I saw a lot of people making comments that they thought that Adidas had become boring, that because Adidas was such a big company that they really didn't have to do much other than put their name on something, and that some people were saying that the jerseys that were made by Umbro looked more new and innovative than Adidas did. I mean, certainly Adidas have the money to spend, but typically it is the FAs, the football, the football federations who go out there and approach these companies looking for these type of deals. So, I mean, but as you say, we have a company now that have interest in the kit deal. They have interest in our players. They have interest in who coaches the team. And those three things are essentially the team. So this is why I said, have they really outsourced the Reggae Boyz operation to this company? Especially given the fact that the president always cast himself as being the last person to know anything, right? And he's always, the last to hear about what's happening, and there's nobody to hold accountable. We don't know who's in charge. We don't know who makes decisions. We don't know who's in charge. I mean, it's really bad, guys. But I don't know. Again, we know that it's the minister. The minister can start an investigation, but if she does that, will she be harming the girls? The girls are they're still in preparation for the World Cup. You understand? They're heading there. So I mean, the minister herself has other things that she has to consider too. So it's a very complicated issue, a very complicated manner, but it is definitely something that is worth her time and attention. And so I hope somebody can refer her to this video.
All right, D. Thompson, that is really partly the purpose of content like this, right? To influence them to address this matter publicly and to go to the media, whether mainstream or new media, and answer questions, right? Formula is Mr. Speed, the spokesperson for the JFF. I don't know if he's officially the spokesperson. I can't answer that question. He says a lot on their behalf, but I don't know if he's officially the spokesperson. I don't think so though, if I was a guessing man. All right, quickly, we're wrapping up now, but again, I sincerely hope that if it's a case that the JFF does not own its name and its logo, right, internationally, in major markets like Europe, like America, I sincerely hope the JFF gets on that, because boy, it would really be a tragedy if if other entity like business to sport go decides to go trademark the name Jamaica Football Federation. I mean, at that point in time, it would become a corporate takeover. It would literally be a what them call those kind of moves again, man, aggressive. What them call it again, man? You muted Neo.
No, I say yeah, the term is escaping me at this moment too, but I
Yeah,
understand
the
what you're saying.
jargon, the particular business
Right.
jargon that they use for that. I don't know why it's eluding me right now.
Yeah.
But yes, I hope that the JFF gets on that. I highly doubt it though, because and this brings us to another thing I want to touch on quickly before we end, is the parallel to the Reggae Girls trademark, right? When Neo did his video, at that particular point in time, if memory serves me right, correct me if I'm wrong, Neo, ownership of the Reggae Girls trademark certainly in the US was still pending, right? Has the JFF made moves to prevent another foreign entity from owning that trademark? Because that is what is the Reggae Girls Foundation is trying to do, which, if I'm not mistaken, is led by Sade Adamalekon's mother,
Right.
allegedly, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. No, I can't remember specifically, but I think though
Hostile takeover, yes, chaos. Thanks for that.
hostility, right. But I think though that I think that I think both of them even this year were pending, meaning earlier this year in 2022, because remember, businesses sports applied for ownership of the trademark and initially it was rejected. They had to provide some more information. And then they updated whatever information they had to send to the, because they already acquired it in Europe, but they had to send additional information to the USPTO, that's the United States Patent Office or whatever, Patent and Trademark Office. So that was pending, and then I think by now it is, that's why I was saying at the time that I made the video, I was trying to get the attention of the JFF for them to contest it if they were unaware, right? And then as for the girls, I don't know why, but I think that the girls were actually, the ownership of the trademark was even further along, and that yes, it is. I think that it is owned by the Reggae Girls Foundation in Florida, and I think that one was even further along than the business to sports, because the Reggae Girls Foundation owned it previously, and then I think they had to renew. So I mean, they have even more of a, I want to say, rights to it, but they're all they're doing is continuing their ownership of that trademark. Um, but again, I my understanding is that that foundation, Reggae Girls Foundation, came up because they realized that the Reggae Girls were not being funded by the JFF, that they were, not real. They felt like they were not being treated right, and so parents and well wishers were trying to form an organization where they could try and raise money to help the girls. And of course, Sidella Marley was involved as well, right? Um, so so yeah, so I think that they do own it, but I gotta tell you, Formula, I feel completely different when it comes to the Reggae Girls Foundation, which is a non-profit organization in America, a charitable foundation raising money for the girls, as compared to a corporate entity, Business to Sports, which is a for-profit entity who is trying to raise money, as all corporations do, primarily
That's an important distinction, Neo.
for themselves. So I feel completely different about the two different entities. Nevertheless, I corporations can do good things, make money, and really drive development. So if handled correctly, a corporation can do wonders for a federation. I always point to the USA Soccer Federation and their for-profit wing and how they worked out. But even though that particular arrangement between the USA Football Federation and their for-profit entity, the name escaped me right now, even though there were bumps in the road, nobody can doubt that that was a profitable entity and that it really worked wonders for the MLS and the US men's and women's football team. Um, you know, but again, that was more transparent. That was, the stakeholders were held accountable. What we have in this situation is completely different. Um, and as we said from the very beginning of the show, it just don't look right. It don't look good, and we need an explanation.
Yeah, I agree. The dynamics are a little bit different with the Reggae Girls Foundation, but I still am not 100% comfortable with a
Yeah,
foreign entity other than the JFF
right,
owning the trademark.
right. You're right, because I mean, of course, the truth is, one is left to wonder if the JFF did own the Reggae Girls trademark, what exactly would they be doing it with it? I don't know. I mean, it is such a mess that you know we're being taken. Well, it appears that the JFF might be being exploited. But of course, that is some activity where we could have no activity at all. So it really is just a tragedy.
Neo, the fact of the matter is, from my understanding of it, issues as it pertains to the use of a trademark and it can be used in various, forms. If I'm not mistaken, for a number of sporting bodies, so to speak, the use of the trademark is probably the respective trademarks is probably the number one source of revenue, of generating revenue. So it just goes to show you the amount of power that the Jamaica Football Federation has conceded in allowing foreign entities to have control over the number one form of revenue generation for sporting entities, which is the use of trademarks.
1 million% formula, which is why I made those two shows and kept on shouting over and over again. This is crazy. Look at what's happening. Somebody do something, please. Talk to people, get in touch with people, bring it to all sorts of people in high and low places. Believe me. But nobody has done anything. Nobody don't want to get involved. People are afraid physically. Um, People are make all sort of excuses. Uh, People tell me I should mind my business before something happened to me. I mean, trust me, it really is a mess.
It,
Yeah,
it,
I mean, Eagle
it's
Republic,
crazy.
Eagle Republic, yep. You know, and this attorney Marlon Gilbert Roberts, um, is a smart guy from what I can tell. He is a member of the Jamaican Bar Association. He used to practice in Jamaica. You're not dealing with a fool. You understand? Um, I reached out to him. He answered me, and he said that he would speak to me, but the guy just ghosted me. I'm not sure why. I really didn't want to. Again, if I do appear hostile, it's because of the outrageous conduct of the JFF. You understand? But I guess he figures that it is in his best interest now not to answer any questions, because sometimes when you appear and answer questions, it raises other questions, and then you spend the rest of your time answering questions. But if I were in his situation, right? If I were in his situation, even if I felt uncomfortable going live and answering any questions, I would have a written statement to the press to clarify the role of business to sports and what they're doing to help to improve Jamaica's football.
And my thing is that, I mean, look, from the standpoint of owning the trademark, as you said so eloquently in your video, they have done nothing wrong, right? So they're on the face of it, from their standpoint, if it's anybody should be hiding them face is the federation, because they are the ones who messed up. Now, probably it could be a case where the federation say, boy, we kind of mess up still in a business to sport. We don't really want to not load up the thing too tough, Seeing that could be the case, but certainly from their standpoint, in terms of regards to this particular deal and their ownership of the trademark, on the face of it, they have nothing to be ashamed of, really. Right? It's just savvy business. So we're not here accusing them of unethical behavior where that is concerned. Right? I mean, I continue to keep my eyes and my ears open. Right? And this is really, power can corrupt. And when individuals have too much of it, right, and the possibilities become endless, that's when problems start to arise. So I sincerely hope that they will conduct themselves in a manner that is beneficial to Jamaica's football and conduct themselves in a manner that is right and pleasing, right, in the sight of, if you're a God-fearing individual, right? Quickly before we get out of here, I personally think that this particular organization poses, given the position that they now occupy, poses a threat to the I don't want to go as far as say the sovereignty, right? Because that's a little too deep, but certainly poses a threat to the authority. Not hearing any.
The independence.
Exactly. Of the Jamaica Football Federation. Right? And I think this is just another, I said it to Rudolph Speed the other day. I said it to Rudolph Speed. The JFF keeps on creating its own problems. Because you have this entity right now that, if you ask me, its influence and its power is growing to a level where the Jamaica Football Federation, if they are not careful, is going to find it difficult to control. We have already seen, well, allegedly, behind the scenes, I have even heard indications of this taking place. Right? And I say allegedly. But I think the Jamaica Football Federation needs to stand up. You guys have already fouled up. It done gone bad already. And you guys don't have the resources either, even if there are means to challenge the ownership of the trademark. You guys don't have the resources to enter into litigation where that is concerned. I don't think so. If you guys do, I would humbly suggest that you guys think about going down this particular road. If you guys have the resources and if the mechanisms are available, Neo can speak more to that. But the authority of the JFF, in my humble opinion, even if it is not currently being challenged, the possibility that it could be challenged, the JFF needs to be very mindful of this. I don't know if Neo agrees with what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would just say this too in closing, but you bring up an excellent point again, Formula, as always. because one of the things that is not, so the GFF might think it's just a public relations problem, but it's more than just a public relations problem. One, we've said that this is something that probably should be a matter that would concern the Minister of Sports, to the extent that, if this entity is affecting the independence and judgment of the GFF, to the extent that the ministry and the government is helping to sponsor the GFF, the ministry and the government will have concerns about how is our money being spent. Are you funneling our money and our efforts to enrich this entity, right? So that's definitely a concern that the government of Jamaica would have. But more than just the government of Jamaica, FIFA also has in their governance laws, FIFA is also concerned about third-party influence on football federations. So FIFA, which is
Big point, Neo.
FIFA, which is the number one funder of the GFF, because what the GFF gives to FIFA every year is so much greater, by 10 times greater. I don't know, a whole lot times greater than what any Adidas deal brings to the GFF. But FIFA is also very wary about third-party influence on football federations. So if the GFF thinks that this is just an issue for the public, or it's just an issue for the government of Jamaica, they should also
Look bad from a PR standpoint. It's
right,
much deeper.
yes, they should understand it is also an issue for FIFA, because FIFA does not tolerate third-party influence on the football federations, and it can be a matter for investigation. So, I mean, there are just so many angles at which this thing is problematic.
Neo, you always sorry, Neo, just muting asset the background. I don't know what takes place with my particular system or setup here. It always have a strange feedback. Anyways, again, Neo, hitting the nail on the head, man. Hitting the nail on the head. I think this has been a very good show. I think we have touched on everything that I could imagine we need to touch on, right? I think this show was done not to cause problems, not to stir the pot, so to speak, or to, trouble people, so to speak. It was done from a good place, from my perspective, and I'm sure from the perspective of Neo and Mannings as well. I view this show as a form of checks and balances. That's really and truly what I wanted to do with this particular live stream, right? To put it in the consciousness of, fans of the Reggae Boyz, Jamaican footballing fans, that, hey, because many, Mannings has touched on it, and IAmSureSports, Coach's Desk has touched on it, right? If I'm not mistaken, I've heard the likes of Orion LFC touch on it as well. But nobody really did a show entirely based on the relationship between the JFF and business to sports. And I thought it was very important, as best as possible in my own little way, to, I don't want to say educate people, but to enlighten people, so to speak, to really put it in their consciousness that, hey, this is a serious issue if you care about Jamaica's football, and also to provide a form of checks and balances, because public pressure and information disseminated to the public is also a means of checks and balances. So, and yes, in this current context, it is not as strong a means of checks and balances as, let's say, it would mean in the political sphere, but it is still a form of checks and balances nonetheless. And I that was basically the motivation behind doing this particular stream, and I'm very happy that we did it. And I think it came out well, and I could not have done it without contributions from Neo and Mannings, man. And I am very, very appreciative of them, coming on and giving their 2 cents. Not one of the live streams that have done the most numbers, and I haven't been doing a lot of videos. I haven't been dropping a lot of videos in recent times. So I think probably that's why the whole algorithm thing works when it kind of not as active as how it kind of affects the numbers. But I think even if they didn't catch it live, I think people will definitely see it on the rewatch, so to speak. Neo, final words. Any final words you want to state?
Yeah, man. I mean, Formula, I want to commend you on this show. I mean, let me tell you something. Like I have my little 1 and 2 show. I haven't done a lot of them either. But, I'm not really necessarily watching the numbers. But I think that this show is a very important show. It's a show that is really analyzing the whole thing. We've come to learn since we've come on this space, vloggers or YouTubers or whatever you call us, right? That a successful football team that makes it to the World Cup, it don't start on the field. It start from the back office, and it start from step by step by how the team is managed, how the structure is managed, how all of these things come together. And so, some of this stuff may not be as exciting as saying who, some of the action on the field, but I put it to you and the viewers who are watching it live or who may watch it in the future that this is just as important. So I just want to commend you on this show and tell you thanks for inviting me. And like you, I will keep abreast of what's happening with business to sports. So again, brother, good show. Glad to be here, proud to be here.
Yeah, man, and honestly, this is one of the live streams that I am probably the most proud of, to be honest with you. And as I said, man, I definitely could not have done it without you and Mannings. The value that both you gentlemen add to any discussion surrounding the reggae boys and in life on a whole, is great value, and value that is much appreciated, I'm sure, to the viewers. With that being said, again, thanks to Neo Sovereign, guys. Neo Sovereign's Law and Insights. I mean, if you guys want more information on ownership of the trademark and information pertaining to legal aspects of Jamaica's football, go check out Neo Sovereign's Laws and Insights. Very insightful platform. And also big up to my guest that was on earlier as well, the big Arsenal supporter, Mannings, man. Of course, he has his platform as well. I am sure sports. Shavan, big up. I didn't realize you were still on. And big up to all the commenters, for being here, and watching this particular live stream and giving your contributions in the comment section as well, which, trust me, we do greatly appreciate and adds a lot of value to the stream. So, thank you for that and much appreciated. So, guys, that's our 2 cents here. Again, the JFF needs to be on the lookout. I'll end with that. Right? So take care. And again, by the way, before we get out of here, to the JFF representatives from the JFF and from business to sport are free to come on my platform, free to go on Neo's platform, free to go on Manningsman platform or any other YouTube platform, as long as they go on these platforms and answer questions that media and fans want to hear answered. They're free to come on my platform and any other platform anytime to clear up any perceived misunderstanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our 2 cents here at the Formula Sports. Oh, by the way, Earl, coming up this week as well too. Reggae Boys in Action, Morocco, Tuesday. So we'll be looking out for that. I should be dropping some content where that is concerned as well. We're always doing the research to try and, you know, get to the meat of the matter. So look out for that as well. Take care, stay safe, guys, and until next time.
Good night.